Hey, what is going on? We are working on section 3 of the first SAT test that you can find online. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Number 1, we see if x minus 1 over 3 is equal to k and k is equal to 3, what is the value of x? So let's write that down. X minus 1 over 3 is equal to 3. Well, if that's the case, x minus 1 is equal to 9, and then the only way that works is x is equal to 10. So the answer is d delta. Number 2, it says for I is equal to radical negative 1. What is the sum of 7 plus 3i plus negative 8 plus 9i? Well, if I take a quick look at my options before I start, I see negative 1, I see 15 and 15. Let's see. Well, I see 7 and negative 8. And if I combine 7 and negative 8, I should get negative 1. So I can eliminate options C and D. And then I'm going to check my I terms. I see positive 3i and I see a positive 9i. If I combine those, I get positive 12i, so I can eliminate B, and the answer has to be A alpha. Let's jump to number 3. Number 3 says, on Saturday afternoon, Armand sent M text messages each hour for 5 hours, and Tyrone sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon? So this person sent M each hour for 5 hours, so he sent 5M. Tyrone sent P text messages for 4 hours. So that is 4P. So I want 5M and 4P. I see option C. Alright. Let's keep going. Number 4, it says Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of each day can be estimated with the with the equation P is equal to 108 minus 23D, where P is the number of phones left and D is the number of days she has worked that week. What is the meaning of the value 108 in this equation? So, if I take a quick look at my equation, I see P is equal to 108 minus 23D. This is actually a linear equation. And what do we know about linear equations? Well, we have a y-intercept, in this case it's 108, and we have a slope, negative 23. The question asks for 108. Which is in this case, will be my y-intercept. Whenever I see a y-intercept, I usually think of an initial amount, a starting amount, or like initial cost. So we're looking for something along those lines. If I take a look at option A, Kathy will compare the repairs. No. Option B says Kathy starts each week with 108 phones to fix. So I like that because it says it starts. Let's see. Kathy repairs phones at a rate of 108. No, okay. So C and D are both types of rates, but we're not asking for rates. So the answer has to be B Bravo. Oh, I don't want to insert. Let's keep moving. Number 5 says, which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? So I'm going to take a quick look at my options. I see option C and option D both have this 2x squared y in it. Which leads me to believe maybe the answer is most likely going to be either C or D. Well, what's different between C and D? Well, C has this 2xy squared. D has 8xy squared. I think it's going to be easier to check for negative 6y squared though. Because if I look, this one doesn't have it at all. So let's take a look. Well, where do I see y squared? Well, I see a negative 3y squared up here. So negative 3y squared. And it's going to be a minus another negative 3y squared. So it's going to be minus minus, which is the same as plus. And then these two 3y squares will cancel out. So we should not have any y squared terms. So I'm going to eliminate option D and option B. So the answer is either A or C, and I already said that C is most likely the right answer, but let's just double check one more time. A, I see 4x squared y squared. So do I have any x squared y squared? No, I don't. So the answer can't be A, so it has to be C Charlie. Let's keep moving. Number 6 says a pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height h of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age A in years between the ages of 2 and 5. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of the boy's height each year? So they want some kind of rate. Again, another word for rate, you can think of it as slope. And here, our slope is 3. So most likely the answer is A. Let's just double check. Height each year. Yep. And then let's take a look at number 7. Number 7 says the formula above gives a monthly payment M needed to pay off a loan of P dollars at R% annual interest over N months. Which of the following gives P in terms of M, R, and N? So I want p, and if I check my option choices, all of them actually have p by themselves, which is a good sign. So even if you didn't understand what this said, you knew at least that you want to get p by itself. Well, how do I get p by itself? I'm going to get p by itself by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. What do I mean by reciprocal? I mean this, that term, that whole crazy fraction. Except I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal, so I'm going to flip it. So I want to look for this, but on the top. So where do I see my denominator but on the top? I see it at option B. Do I see anywhere else? Option A doesn't have it, C doesn't have it, D doesn't have it. So the answer is B bravo. Okay, let's keep going. Let's take a look at number 8. Number 8 says if A over B is equal to 2, what is the value of 4B over A? Well, I can rewrite 4B over A to make it a little bit more like A over B. I'm going to move 4 to the outside. I'm going to multiply it by B over A, because that's the same thing. Well, I don't know what B over A is, but I do know that A over B is 2. And they're almost the same thing. The only difference is that B over A is just A over B flipped. So that means B over A has to be equal to a half, because I'm just going to flip it. And if I multiply this out, I should get answer C Charlie. Let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 says, what is the solution xy to the system of equations above? Well, I see system of equations. Let's take a quick look at my options. All the x's are kind of different, but I see two -6 terms. So I'm going to check C and D first. I'm going to plug in -6 as my y into the second equation and see what happens. Let's see, if I plug in -6, so I get 2 times -6 minus x is equal to -19. Well, 2 times -6 is -12. And I'm going to finish writing off the rest. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And then I get -x is equal to -7, which means x has to equal +7. Unfortunately, C and D, neither of those are 7. We have 4 and 9. So it can't be C or D. So we only need to check one more option. And I'm going to check option A, because I think I like option A. I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to plug in, let's see, -2 minus x is equal to -19. Let's see what happens. This becomes -4 minus x is equal to -19. If I add 4 to both sides, I get -x is equal to -15. X is equal to 15. Do I see x equals to 15? No, I don't see it for option A. So process of elimination says the answer has to be option B. Because remember, if it's a system of equations, it needs to be able to solve both equations. If it doesn't solve one of them, then it's not going to solve the other one. All right, I'm sorry, it's not going to solve both. It may solve the other one. So number 10 says, for the function g defined above, a is a constant if g of 4 is equal to 8. What is the value of g of -4? So let's see. This says, if I plug in 4, I should get an 8. So I'm going to say I get 8 when I plug in 4. So I'm going to plug in 4. And if I do that, I get 16a plus 24 is equal to 8. I'm going to subtract 24. Subtract 24. I get -16 is equal to 16a, which means a is equal to -1. I'll write that on the side so I don't forget. Now I want to plug in -4 and see what comes out. So I get -1 is equal to -4 squared plus 24. I do -4, order operator says I do -4 squared first, so I get 16. 16 times -1 is -16 plus 24, and I get +8, so A alpha. Let's go back. Number 11 says, in the equations above, B and C represent the price per pound in dollars of beef and chicken. So B and C are the price per pound, okay. Respectively, X weeks after July 1st during last summer. What is the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound per chicken? So they want us to say, they told me that B and C are the same. So let's set them equal to each other. And if I solve it out, I'm going to move 1.75 here. And I'm going to get rid of 0.25. And if I do all that, I get, well, these go away, 1.75 and 2.35. I think we get 0.60, right? and on the right side we get 0.15x, and it takes 4 of these to make one of those, so x is equal to 4. But I'm not looking for x, I'm looking for b or c, so let's plug it back in. I'm going to plug x equals 4 back into b because it's going to be easier to do it there. I get 2.35 plus 0.25 times 4. Well, 0.25 is basically 1/4, and 1/4 times 4 is 1. Oh, not equals, plus. So 2.35 plus 1 is equal to 3.35, and that is option D delta. Let's keep moving. Number 12, a line in the xy plane passes through the origin. So let's draw it real quick. So it's going to pass through the origin, and it has a slope of 1/7, so it's positive. Which of the following points lie on the line? So it says, if I have a slope of 1/7, it says I have a rise of 7 and I have a run, a rise of 1 and a run of 7. So I should go up 1 and to the right by 7. Well, option A says one of the points is 0,7. No, that's not on there. What about 1,7? If I move to the right 1, will I go up by 7? No. Actually, it look almost like that if it was flipped, it'd be right. C is also not going to work, so the answer has to be D delta. Let's take a look at number 13. It says if x is greater than 3, which of the following is equivalent to, oh my gosh, that? Well, I'm going to take a quick look at my options and see what happens. Well, I see A and B look pretty good to me. C and D are basically just parts of A and B. When I see this 1/something, well, that makes me think I'm going to have a reciprocal. It's going to be whatever I have on the bottom, but just flipped. So what am I going to have on the bottom after I'm done multiplying? Well, on the bottom, I'm going to have to multiply this by x plus 3 and x plus 3. So my denominator is actually going to be some kind of trinomial. And I see a trinomial, it's mostly going to be x squared plus 5x plus 6. So I'm going to write tri, and on top I'll have some kind of, it's mostly going to be 2x plus 5 because I see a bunch of 2x plus 5s. So, and this 1/, is going to make it flip, so I want 2x plus 5 as my denominator, I want my trinomial as the numerator, and that is only option B, bravo. Alright, let's take a look at number 14. Number 14 says, if 3x minus y is equal to 12, what is the value of 8x over 2 to the y power, 8 to the x power over 2 to the y power? Let's see, well, I can't really, I don't like having x and y, so I'm going to use this equation to make it so I only have one variable. So I'll have 3x minus y is equal to 12. I think it'll be easier just to get y by itself, so I get 3x minus 12 is equal to y. So anytime I see y, I'm going to switch it out for 3x minus 12. Well, I see a y over here. Well, that's right there. So I see 8 to the x over 2 to the 3x minus 12. I still can't find the answer just yet because I need to make the bases the same. Well, how do I go from 2 to 8? Well, that's 8 is just 2 to the third power, so I can rewrite it as 2 to the third to the x over 2 to the 3x minus 12. And then if I have exponents to other exponents, I just multiply them and I get 2 to the 3x over 2 to the 3x minus 12. And this is just another word for division, so it's saying 2 to the 3x 2 to the 3x divided by 2 to the 3x minus 12. Well, when I have division and exponents, I just subtract the exponent. So it should be 2 to the 3x minus 3x minus 12. Well, the 3x will just go away, and the 12 actually becomes positive. So it becomes 2 to the 12th power, A alpha. Let's take a look at number 15. Number 15 says, if ax plus 2 times bx plus 7 is equal to some kind of trinomial for all values of x, and a plus b is equal to 8, what is the two possible values for c? Well, the options don't really tell me a whole lot, so I'm not going to really use those for this one. Let's actually multiply this out and see what we get. So I get ax plus 2, bx plus 7, and if I multiply that out, I actually get abx squared plus 7ax plus 2bx plus 14. And we know that's actually the same as 15. I'm actually going to write underneath 15x squared plus cx plus 14. Well, 14 and 14 are the same. According to this, AB should be equal to 15. And then 7A and 2B should be equal to C. So let's write that down. So I see that A times B should be 15. Because they're both the x term. And I see they also tell me during the information, they tell me that A plus B is equal to 8. Of course, there's more piece of information. I also know that 7A plus 2B is equal to C. But I think it's a lot easier to focus on these two first. So I'm going to focus on these two. So what are two numbers that multiply to 15 and add up to 8? Well, 3 and 5, right? Okay. I'm going to say A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 5. But we might have a situation where B is equal to 5 and A is equal to 3. But those are the only two combinations of numbers that I think work. Well, if I plug it in, let's see, I plug in this one first. So I'll plug in this one first into here. I see 7 times 3 plus 2 times 5 is equal to C. Well, that's 21 plus 10 is equal to C, or another word is 31. Oh. 31. Where do I see 31? Well, option D is the only one that has 31 as an answer, so the answer has to be option D. I don't need to check the other one because there's no other 31, and I know 31 is the answer. Alright, we are finally up to Griddens. Almost done. Number 16 says if t is greater than 0 and t squared minus 4 is equal to 0, what's the value of t? Alright, well t squared minus 4 is actually difference of perfect squares, so I'm going to separate it into t plus 2 and then t minus 2 and set equal to 0. Which means t has to be equal to plus or minus 2. Those are my two answers. But they also tell me one more thing, that t has to be a positive number. And by the way, you actually can't write in negative answers. So the answer has to be just 2. Let's take a look at number 17. 17 says a summer camp counselor wants to find length x in feet across a lake as represented in the sketch above. The lengths represented by AB, EB, BD, and CD on the sketch were determined to be 1,800 feet, 1,400 feet, 700 feet, and 800 feet. So let's write that down. I need to write. AB is 1,800. EB is 1,400. And they tell me BD is 700. And CD is 800. Segments AC and DE intersect at B, and AEB and CDB have the same measure, and they actually write that down for you. What is the value of X? Well, luckily for us, these are actually similar triangles because we have vertical angles there, and once we have angle, we have similar triangles. And this big triangle over here, triangle ABE, looks like it's almost the same as BDC, only doubled. So I'm going to say that AE is just double DC, so it's going to be 1,600. So I'll write 1,600. I should write down here. Alright. If I take a look at number 18, another system of equations says according to the system of equations above, what is the value of x? So I actually want x. So I'm going to multiply the top equation by, we'll say -2, because I want the y's to cancel. The question asks for x, so I should try to get rid of y's. If I do that, I get -2x minus 2y plus, equals, not plus, jumping way ahead, equals 18. And on the bottom, it's exactly the same. I'm not going to make any changes. And I'm just going to combine top bottom. Well, for the x's, I get -x, and the y's will cancel out. So I get, 18 and -25 become -7. So x has to equal +7. Great. Number 19. In a right triangle, one angle measures x degrees, where sine of x is equal to 4/5. What is cosine of 90 degrees minus x? So I'm going to draw a right triangle. I'm going to call this angle x. They tell me the sine of x is equal to 4/5. Well, sine is opposite of hypotenuse, so opposite is 4, hypotenuse is 5. This is actually a 3, 4, 5 triangle, so I'll finish writing that in too. But they don't want that angle, they want to know the other angle, cosine of 90 minus x. So that's actually this angle. So whenever I see x and 90 minus x, whenever I see 90 minus x in a right triangle, I just think of the other angle. So cosine of this angle is actually 4 over 5, adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's actually the same. Let's take a look at number 20. Number 20 says, if a is equal to 5 radical 2 and 2a is equal to radical 2x, what is the value of x? So let's see. They tell me 2a is radical 2x. So I'm going to set that equal to double 5 radical 2. I'll just solve for x. So if I do that, I get 10 radical 2. And then I get radical 2. And this is also radical x. Divide both sides by radical 2. I get radical x is equal to 10. Well, if radical x is equal to 10, then regular x is going to equal to 100. And that's all there is to it. If this helped you at all, make sure to leave a comment down below. If you have any other questions, make sure you leave a comment there too. If you like this video, make sure you like it and subscribe. And I will see you next time.